Welcome to Table Talks with Jionna. I'm sitting down with Jionna Harmon. This is a fantastic interview. What a vivacious soul as she shares her secrets, the nuggets of how she has overcome and healed from trauma. She has started a podcast so that she can bring in voices from around the world to support people on their healing journey. It's a fantastic conversation. Just love her vivacious and contagious energy. And so we're wrapping this interview up. And we spontaneously come into and open up a conversation around intuition. So stay in through the conversation, through this interview, clear to the end, because we open up how valuable and how key was her intuition and learning to trust that intuition and find it again so that her body knew what it needed to heal. So being able to feel into that and know what it was saying. And I've noticed for myself for my own journey, healing journey, and learning to connect to my intuitive side and trust it, it was a lot of healing as far as my emotional blocks and trauma that would cloud how I heard and interpreted that guidance. And so as I walk with people now, let's get to the root of why is this cloudy for you? Because it's key, as you'll hear Jionna speak, it's key to healing. And not just healing, but moving beyond that and really going into that purpose work and learning how that intuitive side of us makes what we are called to do, what makes us, what we're passionate about, it guides us into even being more potent, more influential in whatever that is for you. And so Jionna shares how that works for her, how she connects to that, and so much more. So go get your coffee, go get your tea, and let's start. Hi, welcome to our table talk today. I'm sitting down with Jionna Harmon from Chicago. Yay, thank you for joining us. Jionna has a really special story and her personal journey to wellness and how she did that, how she continues to support others on that journey. And that's what got my attention and why I feel this is super valuable to touch base with you, Jionna, on how did you journey your way out? What were your secret weapons and supports in the healing process? And I know that you have an active podcast. You bring a lot of people into your circle that support the healing journey. But let's start with, what started, a little background on your story, however you'd like to say this, and what inspired a podcast? What started that vision for you?
Yes. So I was born and raised in Chicago, which unfortunately there's beautiful parts of the city and there's parts of the city that aren't so beautiful. And as a kid, I experienced different traumas kind of starting from the household. My parents breaking up was kind of the start of things, just because I ended up being in a space by myself. I have siblings, but we have a huge age gap. So I basically was raised like an only child. And throughout my childhood, I experienced like trying to learn myself and trying to understand myself. I struggled with depression at a very early age. And then I experienced certain like physical traumas, starting with being strong arm robbed at the age of 15, which was kind of the first like very big thing that happened to me. And then as I got older in college, I began to kind of try to understand myself. And in the midst of that, I was a victim of sexual assault. And that kind of put me in a hole that I was not able to dig myself out of. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I've been going through all these things my whole life without sharing. And I finally hit a breaking point where it's like, my people need to hear my story, and my friends need to hear my story. My peers need to hear my story. And I need to share my story in order to heal and get that closure. Because I wasn't going to get that closure from the people that hurt me. I had to get the closure from myself.
Mm.
And the podcast is kind of what triggered that in me, to where I said, you know what, it doesn't have to be a video podcast, it can be audio, and I can still reach people with my voice and my story. So that's how it got started.
That is powerful. And it's a lesson for us. Part of the healing process is using your voice. And in a sense, could you say that it's getting your voice back?
Yes, yes, for sure. Because I've learned the importance of self-advocating, and I sucked at that for a while where, I was like, I'm fine. I was faking it till I made it, and my friends thought I was in such a good space until they visually were able to see that I was not the same Jionna that they were used to. And that kind of forced me to say, you know what, I need to advocate, I need to speak up, I need to kind of defend myself in the best way that I know how.
Mm-hmm. And being able to use the podcast as an avenue was a starting place. But what other things did you find super helpful for getting your voice? Like you said, advocate, but what does that look like? And or what other things did you do to build that inner strength?
So to start, um, kind of what really pushed me to do that was having to face my fear of kind of going against the person that hurt me. So in college, I didn't report it right away. I was one of those people that was scared and didn't know how to explain it or express it, or I didn't want, people to judge me. And I ended up going to counseling. I reached out like at 2 a.m. in the morning. I said, you know what? I need help. I need assistance. I need someone that I could talk to, because I wasn't ready to talk to my family and my friends yet. And so it started off with counseling, and she actually got me to a point where I was ready to report it to the school. Um, from there, everything just kind of fell into place. I started to kind of act on my fears and tell my story, even though it was hard. And from, counseling, I started trying to live a healthier lifestyle. I fell into bad habits. Like I was staying out late, I was not focused, and I wasn't applying myself. And um, I didn't want to take medication, right? As like I want a natural way of healing myself. So it started off with talking to someone that would have no bias, would have no opinion of me. And then from there, talking to the people that could actually make things happen, right? So the people that worked for the school, reaching out to law enforcement, things like that. And then from there, reaching out to my peers and my family that would be able to emotionally support me, and give me that comfort that I needed to stay strong so that I wouldn't fall and I wouldn't lose myself. And after a while, I started to see, the big picture. That person got disciplinary actions. And from there, I said, you know what? I'm never giving up on myself again. And I'm going to gravitate to the people that care for me. I'm going to seek counseling if I need it. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to get in tune with my emotions, and stop hiding how I truly feel. And that was the driving force. That was the things that helped me. Besides advocating for myself, I had to physically find the help that was going to be best for me. And I did a test trial, right, with counselors. A lot of people like, I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want a reminder of what's wrong with me. I just kind of tested it out and just to see, like, is this the person that I need to talk to? And just kind of trying to dig deep and see what the things that were hiding, right, in my mind that I was trying to forget about. And I was kind of pushing them out to the surface. And that was a driving force that helped to kind of allow me to really start my healing and really forgiving myself for the blame that I was putting on myself that I didn't need to.
Yeah, you've said some really valuable things. Finding that person that works for you. It's okay to try a therapist out, a counselor out, and say, no, that doesn't work for me. That's okay, isn't it? That's not failure. That's not going to hurt that person. You know, different things that we may tell ourselves. It's okay to do that. Do you recommend asking others, hey, do you have recommendations? Is that a safe way to navigate that? Or is it better just to do your own research online and just start calling people? What would you recommend?
Honestly, I think that recommendations do go a long way. Just because, if you know someone that knows someone, they might know someone that has a style that works exactly for you and how you like to communicate, things like that. There's some therapists that will sit and listen, and that works for people that just want to be heard. But then there's people like me that actually need that feedback, or, need that person that is able to identify, what, I think that this might be the reason why you're having these issues, or I think this is the driving force for why you're running away from certain things. And my therapist was that person. She pulled a lot out of me that I didn't even know that I had. And it worked for me. We kind of got in contact by accident. Actually, I was seeking counseling through my school, and they had an event, and they're like, oh, you know what? We're just going to send you here. And then I decided to stay with her. I was like, you know what? This first appointment was what I needed. And I kept going, just because I had done counseling as a child. I started when I was 9, up until 13, and I didn't feel like I was getting anything out of it. I kept getting that, it's nothing's going to change. You have to just kind of keep living your life. And that's not what I needed. And so that did discourage me, but I gave it another shot, and I found the person that worked for me, and she really saved me from falling. So
Beautiful.
I'm forever grateful for her.
Yeah, we're like, thank you, right?
Yes.
And I think, is it true when we're going through and we're starting that healing journey that sometimes we're not sure what we need?
That is for sure true.
So how would you speak to that? What's a good, I'm in that place and I'm like, I don't know even what I need. Where would be that first step? What could I do?
So honestly, that's where my research came into play. I started looking up things that could help encourage healing, kind of that self-reflection and writing things down. One night I took it upon myself to write down everything bad that ever happened to me, starting from the earliest memory that I had. And even though that brought out so many emotions in me, it kind of helped me think about what I was lacking in my life that I needed. And I didn't want to seek those resources in the wrong way, right? There's people that struggle with mental health and depression, and they're healing, and they gravitate to drugs and alcohol and partying and hanging out with the wrong crowd and being rebellious. And they get into a lot of trouble, and they never get any results from that. And then there's people that genuinely want to find the root cause to their issues. And most of the time it starts off with identifying, what is your trigger? Like, what is the main thing that is causing you to feel the way that you feel? And how do you want to go about attacking that? And from there, I started to look up things that I could do. And they're like, give yourself, some pep talks. Identify the things in you that you do really well, or the things that you love about yourself, and start to engage in the things that mean the most to you. Is that hanging out with family? Is that, sharing your life experiences on social media? Is that traveling? Is that, finding companionship with someone? I started to kind of think about all of those things. And I know, like, I identified in myself that I used to gravitate to people to try to ignore what was going on with me. Um, my kind of mask was being the good friend to all my friends and showing up and being that hype person and being present for everyone else. And I recognized I wasn't being present for myself. So I started learning, how can I be present for myself? How can I advocate for myself and, let people know, hey, I need to put more time into me. From there, I started going to my favorite place. I love going to the lakefront. I love water in general. Any body of water where there's not a lot of people is a good place for me. Um, Journaling, writing things down, writing my thoughts down, writing poetry, um, spending time with my family that I don't see as often. I actually got an emotional support animal in the midst of everything that was going on with me, because I recognized that a part of me needs to be alone, but another part of me wants to have something there with me at all times. And from there, I got my dog Jasper, who has been my emotional support, and I'm his emotional support too. We need each other. And that kind of pushed everything into, how can you seek out what you really need? How do we know what we need to heal, or how should we start our healing? A lot of it is identifying the root cause to all the issues that you are having with your healing.
Yeah. You just love Jionna. She is sharing so many nuggets of gold for us and ideas that are opening up my mind to how do I and what could I do to heal, and how do I plug into the right people. If you're enjoying this conversation, make sure you hit the like button, leave us a comment, and share the video. Share the link to Gionna's podcast so that you can also continue to grow with her. Okay, let's jump back in with Jionna. Beautiful, beautiful. And it also, do you think, to see what limiting belief was created at that pivotal moment? What belief did I pick up about myself at that key moment that I'm still hanging on to? I'm not good enough. I am not worthy, or some sort of belief. Did you find that too was formed, some sort of belief?
Yes. I did feel like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I didn't deserve happiness for a period of time, because I felt like I just kept failing the people that loved me, or being disappointed by the people that I cared about. Like I said, it started off with my parents, and then my first boyfriend, and in college. There's so many people, there's so many distractions, and you meet people that genuinely care about you. And then you meet people that don't care about you. They're selfish and they're just wanting to do things for themselves. And um, the fact that I have been targeted in a violent manner more than one time, right? I was robbed, and not only robbed of personal belongings, I was robbed of my personal space, my sacred, safe space in college. And I just felt like, what, maybe it's not meant for me to be happy. Maybe it's not meant for me to be that woman that people see as a good go-to. Like, my self-esteem was very, very low. And I was like, I know that I'm smart, but that's not getting me anywhere. So I started to think that maybe there's something else wrong with me, that these bad things keep happening and happening again. And then I had to start thinking about the fact that people are victimized not because they're not good enough. It's more so, either you end up in the wrong place at the wrong time, or there's just someone that has really bad intentions, and unfortunately you just kind of end up being a victim to something that you didn't expect.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
then taking that truth and rewriting a new narrative. Now, what do you tell, if you don't mind sharing, now what do you tell yourself?
Honestly, I've done so much for myself that I'm like, I know I'm a good person. I know that I deserve the world, and I'll get it if I keep doing what I'm doing, if I keep caring for the people I'm caring for. If I keep putting my all into things, eventually I will see the product of everything that I've been doing. Not only with, speaking about my life story, but even in my life outside of my podcast. I work in the medical field. I care for people on a daily basis, and I see the product of what I'm doing every single day. And that means more to me than anything else.
Yeah, we celebrate you. Woo!
Yeah.
And the many others that are on a similar journey, recovering, navigating, healing from trauma and deep trauma. So who can benefit, or I guess I'm going to ask, because I just said that, I'm going to ask, what will people that plug into your podcast, what will they find there?
My podcast is kind of a small world of a lot of questions and a lot of answers. I've recognized that healing can be so many different things. And so I touch on real life stories. I talk about kind of, making things positive, even when you keep getting dealt so many negative things, trying to find the beauty in things. I talk about self-esteem. I talk about self-reflection. I talk about healing, not only emotionally, but physically. I talk about kind of building that love for yourself, that unconditional love for yourself that no one else can give you. I talk about so many things that kind of branch off of pain and comfort and happiness, and kind of learning to love the person that you may or may not know yet.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of also learning lessons throughout, right? I'm getting older and different things are happening to me. I've been a little bit inconsistent, but I talk about that too, right? How being inconsistent with your healing can actually hurt you more than it can help you. I talk about kind of trying not to make yourself the blame for everything that goes wrong in your life, because some people just get dealt a hard hand, and there's something on there for everybody. I talk about relationships. I talk about communication. I talk about seeking help physically, right? Actually going to talk to someone, or trying to find something that works best for you, whether that's, getting a better diet, right? Finding someone that can help you get on the right page to where you're trying to go. There are people from the age of like 18 to over 60 years old listening to my podcast, which kind of helps me know that there's a little bit of everything for everybody, no matter what stage they are in their healing process.
And you're keeping it real. That is one thing that
I am. Yes. Some
and
of them I have to brief, right? And say, this is going to be a very sensitive topic, but it takes a lot for me to do that. But it also helps people, right? Because there's times where people are going through things by themselves and no one knows. And then they hear someone else open up about what's going on with them. And then they're like, you know what? I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to share my story. I think I'm ready to finally put my foot down. And that is what we need more of.
yes, it is what we need more of. And they're going to connect to the different stories and the different things and ways that people have found healing in walking in their personal journey that will resonate and give them ideas, because we don't know what we don't know sometimes. And as
Right.
I've been healing, that's one of the things I've run into. It's like, man, we don't know what we don't know. But if we can plug into your podcast and hear all these variations and different stories, then it really opens up our minds, doesn't it? Oh my gosh, that would work for me. I can find that. And it creates community. That's the other thing I love about your podcast platform, is there's a sense of community. You're keeping it real. Yay. And there's a sense of community. Hey, we can do this because we're together here.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Nothing for me, I'm going to speak for myself, but that's been one of the most powerful things, is knowing there's community and I'm not alone. It's okay to Yeah, we can share because we got each other. This is good. We're good.
Yes.
That's huge. We got to be strong by ourselves, but that doesn't mean we have to stay isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. The community thing means a lot to me, especially because when I made the podcast, I didn't have any expectations of where it would go or who would listen to it, like I mentioned earlier. But I started seeing emails come through like, hey, Jionna, I have this author that just published this book. I think that you guys should connect. And I was able to have guest speakers on my podcast, people that are actually psychologists, people that are in different fields. I had a public speaker on my podcast. I had like a martial arts specialist that uses that, right, to heal and defend herself and feel stronger as a woman. And all of those different people that I've had on my podcast has brought so much knowledge, as well as, a sense of community, right? Letting me know that as people that are trying to heal, we can have each other's backs. We might not be directly with each other, but just kind of knowing that you have someone in your corner can get you very far.
Yes, it can. Isn't Jionna great? The video isn't over, so don't leave. I just want you and encourage you, if you're liking what you're hearing and you're getting support, hit the like button, leave us a message, and please share the video. Okay, let's dive back in with Jionna. So we're wanting to just add a little bit to our interview because we're gonna offset, got into a really interesting topic. And I really want to, Jionna, talk to you about, you were talking about healing and we're talking about healing trauma, but you are also along and part of your gift set are intuitive gifts. And I'm incredibly interested in intuitive gifts. That's my world. And what being connected to your intuitive gifts, were you always this connected to your intuitive gifts, or have this been part of your healing journey? Has this been part of your growth process?
So I've always had it in me. Like it started off very, very young. My parents tell me stories because I was too young to remember, but I started talking very, very early. And I'm pretty sure it's because I had all these voices in my head. And my parents, they're older and like they're very like into like family history and things like that. So my dad actually used to have pictures of like great, great, great grandparents and aunts and things like that. And I was connecting with them through my dreams as a kid. And as I got older, it started to translate in different ways. Like I knew something was going to happen most of the time because I'd get this like drop in my stomach, kind of like when you're on a roller coaster or if you're on an elevator that's going up way too high, you get that kind of pit feeling in your stomach. And um, after a while, as I got older, different parts of my life, I realized that I needed to listen more to that. Um, and so with that, that kind of helped me connect with people a little bit better because I would feel that something was off or something was wrong with them. And I try to say, I don't want to dig. I always say that. I always start off with that. I don't want to dig because I don't know what space you're in, but I can feel that something's wrong. And that helped me to connect with certain people, my friends and things like that. But it also kind of helps with my healing now more so than ever because I get that gut feeling and I know something's going to happen. And it preps me to prepare myself for that. Like, for example, my stepmother, she passed away from cancer in 2019. And my dad called me and he said, they're putting her on hospice care. And literally the night before, I had a dream. I heard the CTA, that's the transit system in Chicago. I heard the train like chime of the doors closing, and she worked with CTA at the train station. So that was my sign that that was associated with her. And I heard it say doors closing, and that told me that she was getting ready to prepare to leave. And so literally the next day, my dad's like, they're putting her on hospice. I like cried. I woke my mom up. I'm like, Mom, she's like, what's going on? I was like, something's going to happen. And I don't know when, but I know something's going to happen. And so when my dad called me, I knew that day I needed to go see her. It's like, I need to tell her everything that I never told her because I don't want her to leave this world without her knowing how I feel.
Yeah.
And so I went to see her and I told her, I never told you this, but I love you. And I promise that I'm going to protect my little brother. I have a brother that's 10 years younger than me. And I'm like, I'm going to protect him. I'm going to make sure he's okay. And I was like, and I do love you, right? With step parents, depending on when they come in your life, you don't always voice how you feel, right? But I knew that I had to tell her, like, hey, this is how I feel. This is what's going on. And I had closure from that because I knew it in my heart that it was going to happen. And I just kind of protected myself, um, prepared myself for that closure. But sometimes my gift doesn't always work the way that I want to, right? I feel it. And by the time I like understand it, it's too late.
Mm.
Right. And that's kind of put me in tricky spots, right? Like I said, I was robbed before I felt it. And I tried to do that fight or flight before something could happen. And by the time it kicked in, it was too late. It had already been done. So my intuition has been a gift, and sometimes it's a curse because I don't know how to communicate that with people. Not everybody understands it. Some people think you're weird, and because you have those experiences, and I'm like, it's truly a gift because this is what's helping me keep moving. This is what's helping me make friends. This is what's helping me care for people and like genuinely put my heart into things because I can feel what other people aren't telling me, and I can feel kind of sort of what people need sometimes without even knowing what they're going through.
That's a true gift. And my understanding about the intuitive gifts is that it is connected to our most authentic self. So the more that we connect to them, the more authentic we feel, the more authentic we are. And you're right, they can be really scary. And when we're young, there's not a lot of like guidebooks on this is what it is and this is what it means. When it's
No, it is not.
it's not.
My spiritual advisor has, yeah.
Yeah, that's huge, isn't it? I mean, we need that spiritual input, that intuitive input from others, to help us it's a mystery sometimes. And that's one of the things that I've been sitting down and doing with people is unweaving that mystery. What does that mean? I have found in myself, that's what I've needed. Your spiritual advisor is. So we're talking about really healing from trauma. Well, part of healing from trauma is connecting and finding yourself. Who are you? Get that out on paper. Get that. What do you really like to do? You gave us a great list on things that you like to do. And we find even a deeper level of that by connecting to that intuitive part of us.
Yes.
And using it because it's who we are. It's who we're designed to be. And you're getting to use that in your life and really speak to people where they're at. If you didn't connect to your intuitive side, you wouldn't be doing that.
No.
So it's enhancing what you're bringing to the table, what you're bringing to the world. It enhances for all of us. It's for all of us are in that same place. We all have that intuitive side of us. So connect to that. That's my encouragement for us all. Really dive in and connect to that intuitive side of us. Allow it to be, understand it, find that person in your life that you have an advisor. I have advisors. Find that advisor team.
Yes.
That's of love and light and really connect to that.
Yes. My advisor was actually, I found him through my stepmother. She was also very intuitive, and I think that's why she prepped me to know what was going to happen before I knew, right? Because I had to be there for my dad. I think that was the most important thing. I had to stay strong for him, and my brother, because that was a huge loss for them. And yeah, I found him through her, and he's helped me kind of. He's like, like open up your third eye more, and you don't be afraid of what you don't understand or what doesn't make sense right away, because the more you kind of let your guard down, you'll get more out of it. You'll get more information, you'll see the big picture. Whereas, people are so scared to connect with their intuitive side, and they block out a lot of things because of that, right? And I think that's why when I open up my podcast, I say open up your mind and heal your soul, because being open-minded is one of the big keys to taking in things that will allow you to heal, right? Because if you're stuck in your ways and you don't want to break those habits, you're never going to find what works for you. You're never going to find what you love, because you're like, nope, I'm just going to do what's in my comfort, opposed to trying to break that wall down and get rid of, doing the same thing, that pattern of doing things and not willing to like open up your mind and your heart to things that could potentially help you.
So I want our community to be able to find you and connect with you. So we are sharing Jionna's links here with this interview. So wherever and whatever platform you're finding us, the links are connected to this video. So please tap in, connect, join the community, and get the support and the wisdom and the knowledge and the fun energy that you bring. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being a voice out there, and a light and an information hub of healing support. Thank you for that, Jionna, and thank you for joining us here.
Thank you.
I am so glad you were here. I am glad I was here. I took away some things that I'm going to work on and think about how to apply to myself. Like, what do I need? Like, what do I need to really support my health, my mental health, emotional health, physical health, because they all three work together. And Jionna shared with us some ideas of things that work for her. She gets out in nature. She's connecting to and has connected to a spiritual advisor and a therapist that really can speak and help her. And I know we have to, and I think this is where our intuition is so valuable. And I think that's too a reminder for me. I teach people how to use their intuition and how to connect, but I need those reminders too. It's like, okay, remember to tap in to that intuition, to say, okay, what really do I need? It's about balance. It's about, hey, I need that self-advocacy for yourself, like speaking to yourself and to others. It just was powerful and super supportive. I found it great, and I hope you did too. Stay tuned for more interviews like this one, because I think people's stories and what they've gone through teach us and support us. That's what this is about. So like this video, leave a comment, share the video, and we'll see you at the next Table Talk.